Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You like that? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
We should just keep talking.
Oh, you just want to do cold open like that?
Cold open like
the camera's moving now.
You felt uncomfortable when I grabbed you like that?
Yeah.
You felt uncomfortable?
I haven't been receiver in a while, so that did.
Everybody has a nobody's good week. Everybody. Like, if you look through the history of college football, every single national champion has been dog water at least once throughout that year, except for one football team. We're going to talk about them. But in 2022, Georgia damn near got beat by Missouri. They did. It almost happened. Y'all know about that. Everyone talks about it. In 2021, Georgia got the dog shit beat out of them in the SEC championship game against Alabama. It looked like they could never stop them from scoring. They gave them, 4 weeks to prepare. They wouldn't have stopped them to score, except the next time they played them, right? 2020, Alabama's team, we're going, they squeaked by Florida in the SEC championship game, but everybody else they beat the shit out of. What's up?
They had that close barn burn with Ole Miss.
That's correct. They struggled against Ole Miss. How did I miss that? My brain just skipped right over it on the game reference. So they had a barn burner.
Yeah, it was like 56-48 was their final.
There you go. Okay, 2020, not a perfect football team. 2019, LSU beat Auburn 23-20 on the road. Really looks like that offense that scored damn near 50 a game. Now, they did score 50 a game, okay, and reset all kinds of record books for offensive efficiency and offensive explosivity. Scored 23 points against Auburn on the road and barely won that football game. In 2018, Clemson, the national title winner, they beat Texas A&M by 1 to open the season, and they beat Syracuse by 3 that year on the road. In 2017, Alabama lost to Auburn in the Iron Bowl and then turned around and beat Georgia in the national title game. In 2016, Clemson lost to Pitt and played 5 other one-score football games, including one against Troy. They were dog shit the whole year and then turned around and beat Alabama in the national title game in 2016. Every single one of these national title winners over the last couple of years has been flawed. I only dug it 6 years because I only cared to dig it 6 years. But I would imagine this is true throughout college football's history. There are no completely perfect football teams. There are no football teams that walk through their slate and just dominate week 1 to January 15th. It just doesn't happen in college football. So yes, Georgia was down 14-3 at halftime against South Carolina this week. Texas was tied in the fourth quarter against Wyoming. Florida State struggled against Boston College due to some turnover issues and some lack of defense against a pretty stagnant, otherwise, Boston College offense. Michigan looked gross against Bowling Green. We could go on and on and on. There are no perfect football teams in college football. I think that's what kind of makes it great right now, because there are no perfect football teams, but the 4-team playoff almost requires perfection. God, what a beautiful concept. What a beautiful concept that we have a system that does not create perfect teams and a championship requirement and resume that requires perfection. Man, why would anyone want to ever fuck with that model? That's right, baby. That's right there, Curve. You did it. That cash, we got to go to 12. We have to do it for the college football playoff. But no, it happens every single year, man. These national title winners, they have one of them. They got one of them weeks every single year on the slate. And here's the thing: unless you're 2016 Clemson and you got Deshaun Watson as your quarterback, all right, unless you are that football team, the rest of y'all can't have 2 of these weeks. Okay? Y'all can't. Y'all can't have 2 of these where you don't show up or you don't play well or you just kind of come out flat. You can't. So Georgia can't be down 14-3 against the SEC opponent the rest of the year. Can't do it. All right? History shows you can't do it. That's what it tells us. All right? Texas, you had your one letdown. You had your we came out flat week. You can't do it again. All right? Same thing for you, Florida State, Michigan. Michigan maybe. The Bowling Green thing is 3 interceptions. Head coach not there. It is what it is. But
Free Harbaugh.
Yeah, free my boy Jimmy. Anyways, you can't do it, and you can't go out on Twitter and mark somebody off because they lost a football game or because they just didn't show up one week and it looked gross, okay? Because, again, history tells us that you can't do it unless you're Alabama because you look gross twice, right? You look gross against Texas, you lose. You look gross against USF, you win by 17-3. You can't look gross again. You can't. Are we in agreement there that despite the fact that there is a pathway to a college football playoff for Alabama, that we don't trust them to be able to complete that path?
I think you can look gross, but you have to consistently deliver. Like, as long as you keep stacking up wins, you're going to be all right. Whereas if you consistently look gross and you drop a game here, you drop a game there, it's two and you're done.
It's like Chinese food. Chinese food consistently looks gross, but it consistently delivers.
Interesting analogy. I wouldn't agree with that, but I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Bro, you think orange chicken be out here looking appetizing?
It looks all right.
It looks all right. Exactly. Alabama looked all right.
Let's say it this way. The first time looking at like a Chinese food item, it does not look appetizing. Like lo mein, it looks like a box of worms.
Facts.
Orange chicken doesn't look great until you've had it. Once you know what it tastes like, then you know it's good. But if you're seeing something for the first time, you're like, oh, I don't know about that.
Alabama football 2023. Chinese food.
On first glance, doesn't look great. We'll see about how it feels afterwards. But I have a hard time kind of discrediting them out about the USF game just because, I mean, it was a downpour, and then we really don't know what the heck happened. Like what the decision was with the quarterbacks, what made that play out, whether it was a coach's decision or something that Milroe did, whatever. It's just a tough call for me, but we'll see. I mean, we're going to get our answers.
We will. Welcome into tonight's show. We got a loaded one for you. We're going to go through the Week 4 predictions. There's a bunch of good games this weekend, which means they're probably all going to be blowouts, despite the fact that there are a bunch of tight lines out there in Vegas. We're going to go through all of those. We got a deep cut AI from Brian Ferentz in Iowa. Did we get that sound clip?
No, we didn't, because we talked about it before the show, and we were like, we don't know if that's going to be included or not. So.
We might. Anyways, the Florida Gators possibly facing their biggest test of the season this week. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but mainly going to spend most of our night talking about predictions. I want to give a quick shout out to the folks over at PrizePicks. If you head over there today, prizepicks.com, use promo code Brooks, you'll get a 100% deposit match. And you should do that because I forgot to do the read in the first hour. So definitely do that. I'm going to blame that hot off the presser.
If you ain't hitting up Taco Tuesdays on PrizePicks, you're missing out on some good deals, man.
That is a fact.
Taco Tuesdays are where it's at. And Flex Fridays, like, man, right before the weekend, you get your college football locks in a little day early. That's good stuff.
Love it. Love it. Love the read. Love those folks at PrizePicks as well. We're going to get us a helmet in here pretty soon from the folks over at PrizePicks of my boy Jack.
We could do Oklahoma drill. We got 2 helmets.
You don't want to smoke.
Ooh, I like it. Ooh, I'll be down for that.
You'd be down?
I'd be down.
It's okay. We got a hoop too now, so I can get you guys something else.
I think I got my pads still. I think I kept a couple shoulder pads. I was a notorious equipment theft. Like, if I wore it, I'm taking it. That shit's mine.
We had a dude like that, too. He had, like, 6 basketballs in his trunk.
But I ain't going to lie to you. We did buy that helmet, so we're good there. So Don't hunt me down short. I know the budget's tight. Don't be calling back for 200 bills on that one. But, no, I got a great show for you guys tonight. Make sure you're showing support over there on PrizePicks. PrizePicks.com, promo code Brooks. Where do you guys want to start? Do y'all want to start with this Florida State game, or do y'all want to?
Let's get the Florida State
supposedly
one.
the biggest game of the week. Why not?
All right, so Florida State at Clemson. Florida State favored by 2.5 points in this football game. Obviously, Clemson had that ugly loss against Duke. They struggled against Charleston Southern for a couple of quarters and then blew them out in the fourth. Can't remember who they played last week. Who did Clemson get last week?
I think it was another nobody.
It was another nobody. You don't have to think about it. It was another nobody. Maybe a Charleston Southern.
Something like that.
Something along those lines. And they blew those doors off. And now they will get prepared for Florida State. Florida State obviously coming off that kind of squeal out win against Boston College. A game in which they struggled to contain a mobile quarterback in Thomas Castellanos. Not going to exactly see that from Cade Klubnik this week. It's a totally different animal. Though Cade Klubnik is a pretty good athlete, he is not Thomas Castellanos. Okay, he's a much better thrower of the football than Thomas, as per the 24/7 ranking that you could see coming out of both those guys coming out of high school. Bless you. But it's a very intriguing matchup, one that I have been on the record already. It's the reason why we chose Florida State to make the college football playoff this year, this matchup, okay, with a combination of weapons on the outside from Florida State and front seven play, okay, offensive and defensive line play from Florida State is, in my opinion, superior to that of Clemson. And again, we've always talked about these matchups shouldn't be judged offensive line versus offensive line. They should be judged offensive line versus defensive line. And that disparity between Florida State's defensive line and Clemson's offensive line will be noticeable on Saturday. I'm telling you that right now. You're going to look up and you're going to be like, damn, K Clemson's got no time. Oh, dang, Phil Moffitt's got nowhere to run. Will Shipley, the only way they can get him the ball successfully is to throw it outside the box. They are going to, like we said last week, put them in a phone booth and box their ass out. And the other thing is, like Florida State, though they're not no longer known as DBU, like I guarantee you they've got good enough corners to put Clemson in a bind. If Duke can do it to you, Florida State's going to do it to your ass as well. I like Florida State by maybe a touchdown or two in this football game, honestly. I think they control this one for quite some time.
I think Clemson would have been better off if Florida State didn't almost slip up to Boston College, because you would have preferred them to have kind of a wake-up call against you, like say at halftime, like, whoa, what the heck? Like we're down 10 to Clemson at halftime right now, and that doesn't give you enough time to process, especially in an environment like at Clemson. So, but same reasons, Florida State's defensive line, Jared Verse versus Clemson's offensive line. I just don't like that matchup for Clemson whatsoever. I think that Florida State wins by 10, maybe 14.
Everything about what you said I agree with. Florida State is the superior team. Clemson doesn't have an offensive line. And then you look at Vegas and where they have this number.
It's not moving.
2.
No.
And it's staying at 2 and not moving is alarming. Because if there's one thing I trust more than analytics and anything else, it's the people who put their money on this, who put big money on this. Florida State hasn't beaten Clemson in like 8 years. It's been a minute. So I kind of want to lean Clemson on this. Not because for any reason other than the fact that Vegas knows something and Florida State hasn't done it in a while, and they showed weakness last week.
Are we getting Tennessee, Florida vibes a little bit?
I kind of am. I also feel like people have absolutely written off Clemson, and it's kind of everyone just looks at Florida State as they have this cakewalk to the playoff, whereas Clemson's still a good football team, and I think there's a lot of schedule left for Florida State. So it's almost too easy to say that Florida State's going to beat Clemson, and then you look at that line.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out. Vegas Insider done got smart. Vegas Insider had this delicious little widget at the bottom of their page for each matchup. They used to tell you where all the money was going and the percentage of bets placed on each bet. And that would tell me, like, if 90% of the public money is on Florida State and the line ain't moving, then Vegas is basically betting on Clemson at that point. Because for those of you who don't understand, Vegas's job is to go 51%. That's what they're trying to do. Over the long haul, they're trying to go 51% of fading the public, essentially, all right, and breaking a little bit above even. Okay, it doesn't work out like that. They win way more often than they lose, obviously. But if 90% of the money is coming in on one side of the bet, most of the time, that's why the line moves. They're trying to continue to fade that. They're trying to fade their losses, essentially, if that were to hit. But this ain't moving, so that means they're confident in their number, and they're confident in Clemson. Is that not historically known as like one of the more like chaotic environments, is it? Like, I've never been to Clemson's version of Death Valley, but is it that wild?
I think it's gotten a good reputation for being one of the harder places. But any major Power 5 school that's consistently competing for national championships is going to be a hard place to play at home. I don't think it's like LSU, Death Valley, or places like that, but it is certainly a hard environment to play.
I've always kind of been of the belief that Clemson's home environment is overrated, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just running down the hill, rubbing the rock, they don't really do it for me. But I also think that it's almost impossible for a matchup like this not to have an insane environment.
Yeah, I mean, Kirby talks about crowd noise today. He mentioned just in the SEC, he feels like it's even worse than it's definitely worse than anywhere else in his opinion. Now the Big Ten has 3 stadiums that are massive, right? Michigan is massive. Ohio State is massive. Penn State is massive. But I don't know. We don't hear about those as being deafening. You know, the stadium that we hear a lot about, or at least I did, was Autzen Stadium Oregon Stadium because of
Yeah.
the way it's built. It traps sound. It's in a valley and it sits in the hole, so sound doesn't get out. It's part of the reason why Sanford is not as loud as some people think, because it sits kind of like a shoe. It's kind of like a horseshoe, and all that sound from the east end zone goes right out of the west end zone outside the river, where the river originally is. So historical context there for the stadium.
Yeah.
So state of Oregon's figured out how to build stadiums because, the Seattle Seahawks, same reason. They have figured out a way to capture in that sound, and people always talk about that stadium trapping it in.
It's 2 different states.
Oh, I'm stupid.
Yeah.
That's why I'm journalism degree.
Geography, that shit be hard, bro.
But no, I might save my prediction for this game for unless it happens.
All right,
I'll just say that.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Florida State here. You're saving your prediction?
I'm saving it.
I'm saving it. Why are you saving it?
I'm saving it for unless it happens.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
You're just gonna give me a hot take.
I'm
on
going
that
Florida
one.
State.
You're going Florida State. We both said by a touchdown, maybe more there. So we like that -2.5. On to Auburn at A&M. A&M favored in this football game by 7.5. Here's my problem with Auburn. I don't think they can score.
Nope.
I don't think Auburn can score, and I think Connor Weigman's the second or third best quarterback in the SEC right now. I would say Spencer Rattler, KJ Jefferson, Jackson Dart, Connor Weigman. Okay, and if you wanted to argue KJ Jefferson, Jackson Dart, and Connor Weigman, go for it. But I think Spencer Rattler's the best, playing the best quarterback, or playing the best at the quarterback position in the conference right now. And then those other 3 guys are kind of battling out for number 2.
I think, and this is going to sound weird to say, I think the best thing to happen to Jimbo Fisher this season was losing Miami because he's already been written off.
Yeah.
Everyone's throwing dirt on his grave, and no one's really paying attention to him now. So he can kind of sneakily have a very talented team.
I would argue the inverse, because now some people on that team thought they had a national title chance, right? Because they see the quarterback play, they know how talented they are. And then once you lose that football game, it's really on the head coach to kind of get everybody up.
Yeah.
And that's been our criticism. That's my criticism. I don't know about you guys. My criticism of Jimbo is I don't trust you to inspire me at all.
Fair.
I just don't think it's going to happen. So the idea that you're going to get me up for a game that now will no longer really carries weight is the difference between whether or not we play in the Cotton Bowl or whether or not we play in the Alamo Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay.
The place I'm coming from is where they're no longer in this national spotlight.
Yeah.
Where it's not like, oh my God, A&M's such
No
a
pressure.
disappointment. So yeah, there's no real pressure there. I think that Hugh Freeze is a better coach than Jimbo Fisher, but A&M has a better roster and it's at home. So I would say probably a 10 to 7 point victory for A&M here.
If A&M loses this game, Jimbo Fisher might as well just not even show up for the rest of this year, and he might as well not show up for next year. And I say next year because they won't fire him, but he still might as well not show up because that's a nail in the coffin, man. That is it. If you lose to this Auburn team, in my opinion, there's no recovering from that. You're going to follow up a loss for Miami. Then you're going to go on and lose to this Auburn team, the team that struggled to put up any type of points, get any type of offensive movement against Cal. That's bad. That's bad business.
How bad does it have to get in Texas A&M and College Station for them to just eat $80 million? Because that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's till 2030. It's 2031.
Okay.
So it's $10 million a year till 2031.
What if they lose to every SEC opponent except for like Mississippi State or something?
Dude, they lost to App State last year and went 3-8.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference was $10 million.
I think
The net difference was $10 million, and they didn't eat it last year, so why would they eat it this year?
I think until 2025, they're just going to suck it up and accept 8-4, 7-5 seasons because they don't want to drop that bag on it.
That just sucks, though.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible situation they found themselves in, but
It's almost like he knows, too. I really do. I mean, you guys, y'all were up there. Y'all didn't go. Y'all didn't sit in the room, but you watched it critically. You watched the SEC Media Days. The day where you're supposed to go out there prepared for the season and tell the world about your football program. And we got 20 minutes of cliches from my mans. And it's like, I really do. I think this is a mail-in job. Like, honestly. It looks like a mailed-in job.
This is my retirement fund is already set. I'm good, and I just got to survive these 2-3 more years until I get my buyout. I don't think he has any desire to win a national championship.
And despite that, all 3 of us are taking A&M on Saturday.
Yeah.
That's how bad I think Auburn's offense is. I think defensively, Auburn's always relatively good.
Yeah, they're all right defensively.
I would say Auburn's like top 4 roster retention no matter what. You could put any coach in there, and we've seen it over the years. You can put any coach in there, they're going to have a top 5 roster in the conference in terms of just Jimmys and Joes. they're going to look like an SEC football team's supposed to look from a height, weight, speed standpoint. But we're all on A&M right there at home, are given 7.5 points. I like A&M, by, like we said, by 10 points or so. It strikes me as a 35-10 football game. Maybe that's a lot, but like I don't think Auburn can score with them.
No.
I don't. Maybe like a 28-10 football game.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. All right, let's go on to another big one. Colorado at Oregon. Oregon, last time I checked, favored by 21 points.
Sounds
Yeah.
about right.
You think right? You were a little bit shocked by that.
Yeah, I didn't think it'd be that much. I figured Oregon would be favored.
Yeah. So I think what Vegas is betting on is that, Colorado's played 3 football teams who can't really run the football yet. You know what I mean? Like, or been dedicated enough to like maintain it and be able to kind of lean on this Colorado unit that they don't have a ton of firepower defensively. They don't have the bodies right now. And I think you've even heard Deion kind of say that. But man, I know one thing about this football game. Some bitches is going to be watching it. Mm-hmm. I mean, holy hell. They broke another record this weekend, 9.4 million viewers in that 2:30? At 2:30 in the morning? Mm-hmm. I mean, drunk, hammered drunk, drunk in that football game, all right? Eyes barely open.
Oh, the game, yeah.
Yeah, somebody hit it in the YouTube comments with that game, or college football was so drunk last week. I can't remember what it was, but it was a classic one. Not going to try to remember.
Must have been really
right
funny.
now. Huh? It was. It was just hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Forgot what I was going to say, right? Oregon, 21 points. I think it's about right.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take Colorado here. I'm going to take Colorado not to win the football game,
Points.
but I like Colorado. I like Colorado to cover because if you give me a top 5 quarterback in college football, see a top 5 quarterback in college football, Shadeur Sanders.
I don't know.
I think he's going to be drafted
He's
like that.
He's played like a top 5 one to this point against Nebraska, TCU, and a very bad Colorado State team.
So Oregon's how much better than Nebraska bodies-wise, TCU bodies-wise, defensively?
I would say they're a fair amount better.
You think so?
Not like worlds better, like, oh my God, this is a D3 school versus a Power 5 better, but
I think this will be a good test because I looked it up. Oregon is top 20 right now in passing defense, and they're also averaging 2 turnovers forced per game.
Huh.
So if there's going to be some chaos and some havoc to be caused for Shadeur Sanders on Saturday, it probably will happen against Oregon.
And we know what the basis and the foundation of that defense is. It's 4-2-5 mint, it's Dan Lanning, and it's the Georgia identity. So it can get confusing, and it's multiple. That's the thing. So we're going to have to kind of see. We talked about it last night, how I've seen all 3 things, right? I've seen processing, I've seen athleticism, and I've seen arm talent from Shadeur Sanders through 3 weeks. This game's going to require all 3. It's going to require him to play the best game he's played all year to date, and he's played some damn good ones.
Yeah.
He's averaging, he's got 900 yards through 3 games. I think he might have 1,000 already through 3 games.
Might have. Let's also not forget though, Colorado's out their best offensive and defensive player
for 3 weeks,
and they're going to be on the road. And and I'm not saying Colorado is overrated. I think coming into the season, they were so underrated that these 3 wins stretch that they went on kind of put them at an overcorrection, and now everyone's like, oh my God, Colorado's a top 15 team. I don't think that. I think Oregon exposes Colorado. They can't run the football. They're down their best offensive and defensive player, and they're going to be on the road. Like you said, they have a very good pass defense. I think Oregon kind of shows people what Colorado really is, which is they're a good team. They're not a great team, but they're an exciting team. I think Oregon wins this game by about 21 points.
We've thought not all season, but we've thought, and we've been kind of consistent since watching that first week. We think they're about an 8-4, 7-5 football team.
Yeah,
that's what we think. And football teams like that lose to Oregon. They should.
By a decent amount.
By 14 points.
I'll go ahead and give you a Sunday headline. People are going to be talking about Bo Nix's Heisman run more than Shadeur Sanders after Saturday.
I'm so gross.
My man.
I'm not saying I'm getting behind it like Christian has this year.
Hey, that's okay. Carson Palmer said he was going to be a first-round draft pick after the 2020 season. So
no way.
There's that. That take stands. That take is out there. It's not been deleted. It's still there.
Deion said that Shadeur's not even going to the league this year.
Yeah, he said you're going to have to get him a Maybach, though.
Yeah.
The whole quote on that is hilarious. He's like, my son going to hold me hostage. So he's going to hold me hostage for a Maybach. How funny is that? I mean, that's what I love about Deion. He don't curtail nothing.
Mm-mm.
He don't like the opposite, polar opposite is Kirby. Like Kirby today said that there are some teams that have had a lot of success rebuilding their roster quickly through the portal. And he refused to say, like Colorado. Like, we all know who he was talking about, but he didn't want to do it. Whereas on the other end, Deion's like, I am who I am. I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and it don't matter. And I think, everyone's waiting around for them to lose. That's why I think this is going to be, I think they did $9.5 million this year. Last week. They're going to do $10.5 this week.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Like they're going to break whatever record they broke last week.
What time is the game?
Viewers.
11:30 p.m. I don't know, probably.
No, I don't know. I'll check it. Y'all add lower. You do the research on that, my man. So I got Colorado to cover.
I'll say Colorado 18 point loss.
So you have Colorado to cover.
Yeah, I think Colorado covers for sure. I think this is going to be one of your high-scoring football games, but Oregon's going to get more stops than Colorado does.
Bo Nick's going to be like that tight end from Miami applying for 12
I wanted
years
to bring that up. How outrageous is that?
I don't even know how it's possible. I don't even know how the 8th year is possible.
And the funny part is he's like, I may not even use this. I just want to know if I can. Like by the end of the season, I want to know if I can use this, if it is even an option for you. Like, how are you going to spend a decade?
I don't know.
Decade playing college football.
His brain needs to be studied. I'm going to be honest with you. And we're talking about the tight end from Miami. If y'all haven't heard about this.
Cade McCormick.
Cade McCormick?
Mm-hmm. And it's a 3:30 kickoff.
Okay. 3:30 kickoff this weekend. That's a nooner local time out there.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. A nooner. Going to be rocking.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Autzen Stadium? Autzen? Autzen. Autzen. Autzen.
Something like that.
Right.
And it's loud out there. So we all got Colorado to cover, but we all got Oregon to win the football game. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, let's move on. UCLA at Utah. How about these Pac-12 games kicking off, man?
Look at that.
Utah, a 4.5-point favorite at home. 2 young quarterbacks in this football game. It's going to be Johnson from Utah. Don't know when we're going to get Cam Rising back. I love that. This is college football coaching to a T. They were flirting with the idea that Cam Rising was going to play week 1 against Florida. And now here we are, week 4, and he's still probably not going to play. Classic coaching isms right there.
Smoke screen.
Yeah, exactly. And then Dante Moore, the freshman from UCLA, obviously going to be taking the snaps for the Bruins. What do we think, boys?
I think Utah is the real murder ball team of the Pac-12.
Hey, freaking men, dude.
Yeah, I'm with that.
I think Kirby Smart or Nick Saban should study Utah football. That's what I think.
Never thought I'd hear you say
I think Nick Saban should call Kyle Whittingham and go, "Hey, GOAT, what you think? What should I be doing?" You know what I mean? Y'all just been running the piss out the football, playing with average quarterbacks for like years now. What's going on up there? Y'all got motherfuckers thinking Cam Rising is good. How y'all doing that? Go ahead.
But yeah, no, I think I think they're just going to lean on UCLA. I would say they're probably going to win by a score or so, but the fact that they just lean on teams and then sucker punch you with a play action over the top.
Bro, find me the motherfucker out here talking about Cam Rising and not saying he's gritty, tough, and a competitor. Find me the one person out here giving Cam Rising analysis and leading with arm talent.
He's
dare
equate Tim Tebow.
No, I mean, yeah, basically.
Equate Tim Tebow. Damn.
I mean, basically.
I mean, that's not necessarily a knock against him. It's just true.
Bro, if you gave me 80% of Tim Tebow's career, I'm speaking for millions at churches too.
I mean, he's not going to have Tim Tebow's career, though.
No, that's why I said equate.
Yeah, because he's up in Utah,
version.
and Mormons don't be rocking like that.
Valid.
I like Utah in this game because Dante Moore is the starting quarterback for UCLA, and while he is immensely talented, I'm going to lean on a defense that is Utah. The Utes have been stymied this season, and I think that's just a better matchup. I think that's the matchup that's going to win this football game for Utah is the defense. They're going to get enough stops, and the offense, they're going to do what they've continued to do this season. They're going to do just enough to where they can pull out like a 7-point, 10-point victory.
The Utes have been stymied this season. Put it on the billboard. Like that's just like the definition of their program, stymie.
That's what you slap in the locker room before you go out.
The Utes are stymie. I love it. Play like a Ute today. Stymie. I'm on Utah here, 4.5 points. I like it too. I think they cover. I think it went by a touchdown.
Yeah, I'll take Utah to cover, yeah.
All right, we're all on Utah to cover. We're all in agreement here on pretty much everything here to start, which doesn't make me feel great.
Yeah.
How about this next one? It's a massive football game. Can they go 4 for 4? Can we have the fourth assistant beat Alabama and beat Nick Saban? Ole Miss on the road at Alabama. This line is tricky to me, -5. In years past, when they have any type of competency at quarterback, this is the he's pissed off football game. I'm making a statement Nick Saban football game. This is the one. This is the one where I normally come in and I say, put the damn mortgage on the Crimson Tide. Honey, if they lose, we're eating ramen next week.
Ice cube sandwiches.
Ice cube sandwiches. All right. We're going to have to pay Johnny at the dough. He's going to be knocking. So we owe some money. All right. But normally that's what we're doing. I don't feel so comfortable. I do not feel so comfortable.
Why
because
is that?
there are so many holes. There are so many holes. And by the way, Ole Miss is a football team that actually gets after the quarterback. Like if they do anything defensively, they get after the quarterback. Y'all remember that Kentucky game last year or 2 years ago with Will Levis?
Yeah.
Will Levis was out there turning it over left and right because he's getting just blown up back there. Just absolutely head taken off by the ribs. So, I think this is a football game where Ole Miss can get some pressure. And, again, this is normally a game where I'm like, mortgage on Alabama. So should I take history and just say, give me the 5, I'll lay the 5 points? That's 5 points in this football game? That's got to be the least amount of points Alabama's been favored against Ole Miss in 5 years, 6 years, maybe 7.
It's been a minute, I think.
The only
other time I can think
Bo
of
Wallace.
would be 2021.
Yeah, 2021, people are riding high on
That
Ole
game
Miss
got a
coming
lot
into
of, I
this
guess,
game.
in Alabama.
That's
beat
when
the
you're
shit
supposed to
out
have your
right.
popcorn ready.
Yeah.
And oof.
Alabama beat the shit out of them that year.
It was buttery.
2 failed 4th down conversions on your own side of the field.
It was buttery, no doubt.
I'll go into. I think Ole Miss does it. I think Ole Miss wins this football game. I'm just not. I have this weird feeling about Alabama. I just cannot sit here and get behind that quarterback room.
Bro, the takes are getting hot around Alabama. I saw somebody say they're going to go 7-5.
I don't think that. I just think that this is an opponent. This is a football game. And I think it's crazy to say that Alabama loses 2 home football games, especially to 2 of Nick Saban's assistants. I just get this feeling around this football game that Ole Miss is going to go in there. They've been nipping at their heels for the past couple of years under Lane Kiffin, and I think this is the year that they finally do it.
I just got this feeling.
Ooga chaka, ooga
chaka, ooga chaka.
No?
Not feeling that one, not going to lie. Yes, I think this is kind of what would be the nail in the coffin for Alabama's dynasty. If Jalen Milroe isn't utilized, if his legs aren't utilized properly, and if you don't call an offensive game plan that's going to make him a running threat, a true running threat, Alabama loses this game. That said, I think they're going to use him in a much more explosive way where it's not going to be, let's see what his arm can do. I think Alabama wins.
Hey, man, y'all ain't heard, but a multi-hundred millionaire bought real estate. Did y'all know that? A multi-hundred millionaire, Nick Saban, bought some real estate in Florida. Can you believe that?
Wow.
That means he must be retiring because he got all them hundreds of millions of dollars and they ain't shit to do with it.
Definitely shouldn't invest in anything.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't buy real estate at all.
No, definitely not.
When you got money like that. Definitely not real estate in Florida.
No.
Yeah. I always think that's funny when people are like, oh, so-and-so bought a home out in such and such. Like, yeah, no shit. What's he supposed to do with his hundreds of millions of dollars?
And it's super my favorite is when they do it with athletes, like when people were like, oh, Trae Young just bought a house in California. He's going to the Lakers. Maybe it's because he does a lot of training out in California. Or Steph Curry is out in California.
Or here's one. Maybe Mrs. Saban might say she lives in that house 50% of the time. And maybe they like tax incentives. I don't know. Maybe 100 millionaire buying some, couple $1 million homes ain't nothing to throw the flags up for retirement. However, that video we saw of him walking into the tunnel after the USF game, holy smokes, man, looked like he'd been through it. Explain that to the people, Kirby. How could you visually walk people through what we saw? A wet dog? Old dog. The dog that can't sit down because his hips is sore.
Nick Saban looked like a 78-year-old man that ran 15 miles through the pouring rain. He looked beaten.
So like a Forrest Gump after his
No, Forrest Gump
country.
Forrest Gump was fine. I'm talking.
I was a running.
Head down, hair messy, jaw open, just.
A screenshot from the Great Depression is what it looked like.
Yeah. Big body language. Not good body language.
Not good body language, but I'm going to do it. I'm taking Bama -5, lay the points. I'm going to do it.
I'll do it as well.
It's just history tells me I need
Sticking
to do
Ole
it.
Miss.
All right, so we got our first disagreement. Going to Ole Miss
Sticking
on
with
the – you taking them not outright. You think they're going to win the football game. On to
yeah.
Arkansas at LSU. I got LSU big in this football game. I think
Yeah.
Arkansas is down bad.
I put this on there just because I think this is the Sam Pittman's in trouble
How
game.
quickly is he back in Athens? If
Well, I
he
mean,
gets
it's
fired.
almost
Let's not throw dirt on his grave yet. But if he is fired, how quickly is he back in Athens?
Almost immediately.
You think so?
Almost immediately, I think.
I hate that for Stacy. I don't think that's fair.
I don't think he. I don't
You
even
think
know.
as an analyst, but what analysis does he
I don't
bring?
know. You know, I don't know
He's not a former coordinator.
I think he kind of likes his life in Arkansas, in my opinion.
He just takes the money and runs. What
Yeah.
what is his? I would imagine his buyout's not too bad.
It's probably not horrible.
He's a
that
first-time
bad.
head coach. They didn't give him one of these contracts.
No.
Um,
I think he might just do a thing and ride it out in Arkansas for a couple years and let the water settle.
I think he comes back to Georgia as an analyst. You wait for Stacey Searles to say, "All right, I'm going to take this job elsewhere," or Kirby to say, "Go away, Stacey," and then he's your next OC. He's your next offensive line coach.
Shoe boy.
I just the analyst role that we save $250,000, $300,000 for is for former fired head coordinators like Brandon Streeter. That's who took Bobo's role.
Yeah.
Brandon Streeter, who was the OC at Clemson. So former OCs get those roles, not former offensive line coaches normally.
Yeah.
So it's a hard fall back down from grace once you're not a coordinator. You know what I mean? Like you go from position coach to head coach, like Shane Beamer. If Shane Beamer doesn't work out as a head coach, which it looks like it's working out, but if he doesn't work out as a head coach, what's he going to go do?
Special teams coordinator.
Yeah, and make $150,000. He's going to go from making $6.5 million a year to making $200,000. That's a fall from
In
grace if I've ever seen one.
flip-flops.
In flip-flops. So getting the dogs for free. Maybe that's what he ought to do. Open up a little OnlyFans.
OnlyFans for the feet.
OnlyFans for the feet. Stop giving the feet for free, coach.
Boy, what an ESPN alert that would be. Breaking news.
For $9.99 a month, you can see what Brandon Marcello got to see for free.
But yeah, I think LSU wins big, and I think people start to raise their eyebrows about Sam Pittman.
That's how ADD this football show is. We went from talking about this football game to Beamer giving the dogs for free. Are we all on LSU?
Yeah.
I don't even know what the line is. I don't need to look.
18.5. It's a lot.
Sounds about right.
It's a lot.
It's a three-score win.
I mean, dude, Arkansas struggled with Weber State. I think it was.
They lost to BYU.
Lost to BYU. They had another mid-major come in there that they struggled with.
Yeah, I think they lost to BYU and had 2 non-offensive touchdowns. I don't know if I know they returned the kick. I don't know if they returned 2.
38-31 in that football game. It didn't look great, man. But you've seen his staff get picked apart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He has a new offensive coordinator up there. Obviously, Kendall Briles left to go be TCU's offensive coordinator. So he's had Barry Odom left his staff to go be another head coach somewhere. So he's had some roster turnover and some head coaching turnover or some coordinating turnover. And that's really, really tough for a guy who, by the way, doesn't have an extensive tree. Like that's a guy that coached at Arkansas as an offensive line coach, coached at Georgia as an offensive line coach. That's the extent of his wiki for the last 20 years. I shouldn't say 20 years, last 10 years is the extent of his wiki. And guess what? If our relationships are only tied to those schools, well, we don't really have a pool to hire from if we don't have a long, extensive background as a coordinator and as a guy who's hippity-hopped around different staffs. Because that's all these things, this is. When we hire people, it's because we had a former stint with him, or we spent some time over here, or we liked what he did there, or we know a commonality, or we have common friends. That's it. That's how the college coaching world works with regards to hiring. So we all like LSU big in that football game. And interesting, man, again, the Pac-12. Pac-12 front end, back end, their schedule. That's what it looks like to me. Oregon State -2.5 at Wazoo this weekend. Washington State, I think, burned up their big win of the year at home against Wisconsin. Beat our boy Luke Fickell down. I mean, just beat him down. Was up big time on our boy Luke Fickell. And then, held on late in that football game. I think Oregon State rolls in this football game. Big physical football team, likes to pound the rock. I like them. I like them on the road here. Oregon State. Give me the Beavs. Give me some Beav.
I think Washington State's top 4 in passing offense right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're putting up numbers. And that kind of makes me want to go with Wazoo. But I don't know. This is honestly a tough one for me.
Put it on for the game day flag, man. Come on. Is that thing still flying?
Every day.
Every day.
Every single one. You know what? Yeah. Wazoo. I'm going with them.
Wazoo.
Wazoo.
I'll take Oregon State in this game. I'll take Oregon State. I think DJU is a good quarterback. They've got a solid O-line. And I think Wazoo's kind of like you said, they spent their big game. This is going to be one of those interesting Pac-12 games where it's like a super close shootout, but Oregon State wins.
Man, if Wazoo ain't a perennial 7-5 football team, I don't know what is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as we've ventured into this national correspondence stuff, I've come to find that a lot of college football is that. A lot of college football is Purdue. A lot of college football is Mississippi State.
That's what makes it so fun.
Yeah. A lot of college football is Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of college football is Texas Tech.
That's what make. Literally, I said that yesterday. It's like,
are we glad that the portal might help? I think year over year, we're going to see it more and more. I think we're going to see a little bit more parity with regards to teams like Purdue, well, not Purdue, but less academic standard teams can build up maybe a monster once. You know?
Yeah, I think you see more flashes in the pans, like where you had a TCU last year, Michigan State a couple of years ago, Colorado this year, where you have that one team that seems to cultivate the perfect roster that goes 9-3 or 10-2, and you're like, wait a minute, where did that team come from? They used to suck, and that's what's going to make college football interesting over the next few years. It's not going to be the Georgia versus Alabama or is Ohio State number one, things like that. It's going to be the small guy that takes a step forward for 1 year.
You old little guy. All right, I got Oregon State. Who do you got?
Oregon State.
You got Oregon State, and you got Wazoo.
Yes, sir.
Attaboy, Jay Will, just fading us a little bit. So Jay Will took Washington State there. We're going to save Ohio State and Notre Dame last. Let's talk about Iowa and Penn State. Penn State favored by 14.5 points here. I think if they score 21, they cover, honestly. I think that's what it is. We saw Penn State's defense just absolutely just choke the life out of Illinois last week, apart from 2 drives. Just absolutely suffocate them. And if they're doing that to Illinois, I know Illinois is bad offense, but if that's bad offense, what is Iowa in the Big Ten? Abysmal offense. So I know Iowa scored 40 points last week. They got off a little bit. Cade McNamara handled all those dudes coming on blitzes and took care of everything. All right, scored 40 points against all those dudes. But this week, a little bit different. I like Penn State, and I like Penn State big.
Yeah.
I like Penn State 31-10. That's what I like, 31-10 in this football game.
I was going to do the joke, but you did it before me. That's all right. Yeah, I think Penn State just routes them.
Dude's coming, joke?
Yeah, I mean, Penn State's going to be coming a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of come.
Nah, it's too heavy-handed.
A lot of coming. I said what?
Yeah, a lot of too heavy-handed. What do you got in this football game?
Yeah, the reason I put this on there is, does Iowa score 20 points? That's the question. So, yeah, Penn State wins by a bunch.
We're going to see that points per game total take a massive hit this weekend because I do. Penn State's got a physical defensive line. They got some safeties that roam really, really well. They actually reloaded at corner relatively well, despite the fact that they lost Joey Porter last year.
Yeah.
So they got a really, really good defense and an offense that's going to actually be able to score, not at will against Iowa, but they're going to be able to score willingly.
They'll put up
out
points.
there. Yeah, they'll put up points on Saturday against that football team. The biggest game of the week, okay, and it's why all those other football games aren't scheduled at 8 o'clock. It's why up in the booth Saturday, I'll be having it on the side screen. It's why we're bringing the secondary screen up into the booth on Saturday. Ohio State going on the road to fight them Irish up there at Notre Dame. Ohio State favored 2.5 points in this football game. Kyle McCord officially named the starter for the season last week. They scored 63 points against Western Kentucky. But I think the biggest storyline through 3 games for Ohio State is the fact that they actually have a defense. Like what looks to be the Big Ten's best defense, that includes Iowa because they're supremely talented to Iowa. Okay, they are playing extremely fast, extremely physical. They've got NFL guys on the front. They've got NFL guys at linebacker. I think both of their linebackers are some of the most experienced. They've played more football and seen more things than anybody else in that conference. I like Ohio State in this football game on paper, and then I look at the quarterback room. And I say Sam Hartman is far better, at least historically. I have much more proof that Sam Hartman is ready for this football game than I do for Kyle McCord, particularly on the road. This is his first road start, and he's got to go in to South Bend and handle that. Like, man, I like Ohio State for a bunch of reasons in this football game, except for on the road, first-time starter, good luck, Sam Hartman, other side of the football. Closer than the experts think in the scoring department, take the under. I like Ohio State 20, or I like Notre Dame 28-27. I'm talking about like last-second field goal type win in this football game.
I think Notre Dame would have beat him last year with a better quarterback. They dang near did it with Tyler Buckner going 10 for 18, 177 yards, and that is the game where he got hurt, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I think a better quarterback, the Irish get him last year, and I think that's why Notre Dame is going to get them this year. I do think it's going to be close. And I do think Ohio State is a really, really good football team. They're still going to be in the playoff.
They're so balanced for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're telling me going into a football season and 4 weeks in, we know three things about Ohio State. They can play defense, they can run the ball, and they're balanced. Like, they're not one-sided on the offensive side of football. That's new for Ohio State, but they're not proven at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I think this could be a situation where Ohio State loses to Notre Dame and then runs the table the rest of the way.
Yeah.
I think this is the game that we always see with Notre Dame where it's, they don't play well in big games.
Lay in Eggsville?
It's the same thing we've said with Texas where it's you have to show me. Other than the 2020 Clemson game, they've never been able to win that marquee matchup game.
And they got housed in the ACC championship game that year too.
And I don't think that they have a really strong home field advantage. We've seen a bunch of times where their stadium gets taken over. It happened against Georgia, happened against Cincinnati.
Stadium's too far from the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of Colorado, like we talked about last night.
Yeah.
If you look at this game on Saturday night, the fans are like 20 yards off the field.
Got to leave room for Jesus.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, leave room for Jesus. But
the red wine.
That too.
Yeah.
I don't like Notre Dame in these spots, even though Sam Hartman is a superior quarterback. I think Ohio State traditionally, historically, is much better in these marquee games. I'll take Ohio State.
Let me ask a question. Do you think that
I got a better question coming up, so go ahead.
Okay. Do you think that was like Notre Dame laying an egg all the time? Do you think that was a Brian Kelly issue, though, or do you think that that's just a Notre Dame issue?
I mean, who knows? But
because, I mean, even at LSU, you could say that Brian Kelly has had those same issues. We saw it against Florida State when they went and played Georgia.
As far as you guys are concerned, Brian Kelly is Notre Dame's head football coach. Y'all are too young to remember Charlie Weiss, aren't you?
No, I was there. I remember it vaguely.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
But just because Brady Quinn was handsome, you don't remember, and Charlie Weiss was fat, you don't actually remember those Notre Dame teams, do you?
No. I've went back and watched a few.
Jared Saltalamacchia.
I know the name.
Yeah, because he's a baseball player. You don't remember Jared Saltalamacchia, the really handsome tight end, do you?
No.
Yeah, he played tight end at Notre Dame. He was really, really good. So Brian Kelly is Notre Dame to you guys. Notre Dame is Brian Kelly. This is the first time you've seen something new as an adult, honestly.
Yeah.
All right, so my question is, we're playing a game of poker. I got pocket aces over here. I got Marcus Freeman, and I got Sam Hartman. And we're playing a game of handsomest quarterback coaching duo in college football. I think I got a winner. Do we have anything better?
No.
Lincoln Riley and
I was
Mr.
just about to
GQ?
say that.
Lincoln Riley
That's
and
not
Mr.
a bad
GQ?
duo.
It's not a bad duo.
I would take Sam Hartman and Marcus Freeman over that, though.
But that's what he's got.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I
over Caleb Williams.
I'm going to ride with Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams.
You putting me on the spot really, really hurts there. I got to
Yeah.
think about that for a minute. Give me.
I was trying to think of some other ones.
Yeah, give me some.
I mean, hey, Dan Lanning's got a pretty dope tattoo, and Bo Nix is not ugly.
Dan Lanning and Bo Nix might be my answer, but I don't think that's strong.
And we know Dan pulls because the tattoo says so.
That's right.
What about Biff and his quarterback?
Oh,
Dude, Biff Poggi might be my answer.
Biff Poggi. Biff Poggi's like that. Is like playing poker with the Joker, where the Joker's like two aces in and of itself.
Biff Poggi shows up to the casino with the mafia. That's what he does.
Dude, they play Florida this week.
They play Florida this week.
Dude.
Florida's in trouble.
Florida's in big trouble.
Florida's in big Poggi trouble.
There's going to be so much ice cream on that field.
All right, I'm good. Y'all good?
Did we ever
wanna
give
go-
our predictions?
do you wanna-
Like,
Oh yeah, my bad. I already said I got Notre Dame in this game.
I
also
got
have Notre
I got
Dame.
Ohio State.
All right.
Do you want to
See
do
you on
Heisman's?
No, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
All right.
54
tease.
minutes in. Hey, make sure you